Hello, 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 welcome back to Hunter Tune. Today we're going to be working on an EG hatch. This setup is a GSR and it is built up with rods and pistons and it has some camshafts. We're unsure. I know that's always the story when I do these projects. There's not a lot of build info a lot of times because some of these guys, they buy engines from other people or they buy cars from other people and they don't get all the information. When I do have the information, I always tell you guys, but this one, as you can see, it has like the timing cover and everything still on here, so it's tough to see, like, you know, what gears, what the cams are degreed at, stuff like that. So this one's just getting strapped down and we're going to tune it pretty much how it is. That's kind of what the customer's wanting today, so we are going to just see what it does and if we can iron out the bugs. It does have an Edelbrock Victor X intake, and the owner thinks they're Skunk 2 cams. Some sort of Skunk 2 cam, and it has an inline pro log manifold. I haven't really used one of these inline pro manifolds before, but it does have a longer runner than like a typical log. They're still a little bit restricted compared to a top mount or a ram horn, but it should do okay, I think. The only thing that sucks about these manifolds is they tend to position the turbo quite low, so it's a little bit tricky to get stuff to route right. It is running a set of 1000cc injectors and 70 mil throttle, it looks like. This looks like 3-inch piping. Aeromotive regulator, and it's got a 3-port boost controller. We're going to be tuning it on Hondata S300. So we got it all strapped down. Really nice looking car. Team Defiant in Oshkosh helped put this car together, and he's out here with me today to see what kind of power we can make with this thing. And yeah, they already had a set of NGK 4554 spark plugs in it. They already had set the base timing before they got here, so this thing is going to be a strap and giver kind of deal. So we're just going to kind of see what she does, and hopefully we don't run into any issues. Got it all strapped down. When I get everything set up on the dyno, I actually just pulled the file out of the car, and we have something to work with already. So I think this car was previously tuned prior, but we're going to kind of clean it up and give it what it wants. The only thing that is a little concerning right off the bat is this car does seem to have quite a bit of ignition timing in it for pump gas. But if it's a low compression engine, it might take it, it might like it, but we're going to start lower than this and go up. So we're going to get the timing map and stuff figured out. Going to probably start, you know, sort of soft, 20 degrees or so, around 10 pounds. You know, a degree per pound starting at 30 at wide open, or 28 at wide open is typical where I start, and go a degree per pound to start, and then work up from there. That's usually a good indicator for pump gas. I don't tune a lot of pump gas stuff, so I always go pretty conservative to start. But we'll see what she does and pick up with you in a minute when we start rolling. Alright, so I've made some pulls with the car, and cruising and everything is pretty good. Wide open was rich, but wanted to kind of see where the boost was going to end up, and we've made a couple hits already. 242, no VTEC on or nothing right now, but this thing is just running away. We couldn't really get a handle on the boost, so I'll show you the log in the car. So we start our run around 3 grand or so. Oh, sorry, can't fucking see nothing. So the boost is on the bottom. 3,800, 3 pounds. We're losing sync right here. You can see this. It just goes flat. RPM just goes flat for some reason. But, and then catches right back up. So we're building boost, building boost, building boost. And then we're at 7 pounds here. 8, 10, 12, 16, 20. Yeah, running away. So we don't want to make 20 pounds yet. We want to make a modest amount of boost to start. So what we're doing now, Kyle's actually out there doing the wastegate spring. So we're we pulled a spring out of the gate. It had 2 wastegate springs in it, so we pulled one of them out. It had like the outer and the inner, so this is the inner right here. We pulled the inner one out and left the outer, and now we're just getting it all back together. And then we're probably going to run the wastegate line from the manifold right to the wastegate to eliminate the controller being weird, stuff like that, and then we'll see what it does with the line going straight to the wastegate. All right, changed the spring in the wastegate, and now we also changed the routing for the vacuum lines a little bit. Before, so they have a T for the boost controller, and off of the manifold was actually going to this side of the T, so it's kind of hitting a wall, and we're making it straight through to the wastegate now. So we moved the boost source to here and moved the solenoid source to here. So that's all the diagrams have it online. I'm just going to make sure that that's going to work. And we also changed the gate spring, so we're going to be uber safe now, hopefully. If this doesn't work, we may have to diagnose further, but I hope this takes care of it. It just took a second because like it'd be 10-0 and then it'd come in and be 12-3. All right, so I got the low cam tuned in and we got the boost under control now. So the car's making about 5.5 pounds of boost with no VTEC and making 228 horsepower. So not too shabby. I'm gonna turn VTEC on and then we'll turn the boost controller on after that. But first we gotta get VTEC lined out, see where it wants to be with these camshafts. So we got VTEC turned on and you can see the power curve is dying when VTEC engages. So either the cams aren't degreed right or something's going on. All right, so we did change our cam settings mechanically. Prior to all these runs where VTEC was falling off, making a lot less power when VTEC was enabled, the exhaust cam was advanced and the intake cam was retarded. So we went 0 on the exhaust and we went +2 on the intake. And now we have a power curve that we can kind of work with. Right, the intake cam was retarded before.
Yeah.
And the exhaust was advanced. Yeah. So now if we look at our power curve, this blue line is the new run, and you can see it's got a little lull when VTEC kicks, but it's not nearly as bad as it was prior. It picked up a lot of power. This green is what it was prior with VTEC on, so we gained a lot of power everywhere. I just think we need to move VTEC up. So we're going to move VTEC up to 6500 and try it again. And we're going to spin it to 9 or 9200. So we ended up moving VTEC around a little bit. We played with it. We went up to 6500 with VTEC, and it still had that little bit of a lull right when it would hit. With the cam settings that we had in the car, it probably would have wanted VTEC at like 7,000 RPM. So we ended up advancing the intake cam slightly more. I think we ended up with like 4 degrees advance on the intake and like 1 degree advance on the exhaust. And then VTEC at like 6,300 or so. And then we ended up with some pulls after that, which were awesome. So as you can see, the car made really good power after we got everything lined out. I'm still kind of learning, tuning these camshafts on the dyno, trying to find the right split between intake and exhaust to get the most power possible from the cam, and then also shifting it to find the right power band is also another tuning thing that I am still kind of perfecting. We did get this thing running frickin' A1, and it's a straight up ripper for pump gas. This is the most power I've made on pump gas Honda, just because I don't usually tune pump gas stuff, because E85 has a lot more of a safety window, and you can get away with a lot more stuff with E85 and not hurt parts. I rarely hurt anything with E85. On pump gas, it's a lot easier to break stuff, so I'm a little bit more skeptical on tuning pump gas. I don't run pump gas in any of my own personal stuff, but if somebody really wants pump gas tune, that they get a pump gas tune, and this one ended up really good. So at this point, we did get the car figured out. We got VTEC working right. There was no plateau anymore in the power curve, and we started working on the boost controller, slowly working up at it. And the pass that you just saw, or the dyno run that you just saw, I think made something like 360 or something to the tire at like 9 pounds boost only. So that was pretty cool. This next hit, we turned it up and I got a handle of the controller. There was some issues with the boost controller where it was actually acting backwards. Even if I flipped the polarity of the solenoid, it would still always want less duty cycle to make more boost. So it's kind of weird, but nonetheless, we got it all worked out at the end of the day. Boost by gear was working. Yeah, so this next pass, I think we made 14.5 pounds of boost and cleared 465 to the tire, and it blew the dipstick out of the block because it doesn't really have a catch can on it, so it definitely needs an oil catch can coming soon. Another reason that I did push this car a little bit farther on pump gas is because A, it's a built motor, has an ATI super dampener on it, so I'm not scared to push the setup RPM wise, and with more RPM, timing and boost are not as easily detonatable, if that's a word. So timing and boost don't detonate as easy at higher RPM, especially when the engine is efficient at high RPM. you can usually feed it more timing and more boost without having detonation issues. If the engine's inefficient and you cram a bunch of timing in it, you know, then you start hurting stuff, or try to cram a bunch of power in at an inefficient point of the motor. Hopefully that makes sense. But enjoy the last run here of the car. Alright guys, that little EG Civic is out of here. That's the most power I've ever made on pump fuel. We just made let me hang on one second on here real quick. 465 wheel horsepower on 15 pounds of boost, and we're revving at 9,300. What a ripper. And look at that power curve. Super smooth. Never falls off, doesn't dip, none of that. As in earlier today, we were having issues with the cam degree. The cams weren't set up right, and we were having all sorts of problems, like this. You see, you know, coming up and then dipping down and then coming up. So yeah, once we got that ironed out, here's the difference between those. 1 second here, let me get rid of this. This is when we fixed the degreeing of the cams and we changed the VTEC point. You can see how much that improved. We did quite a bit on this car today, and it paid off. Great little setup. I definitely do not want to push it any farther than this, considering it is on pump gas and it has a log manifold, which I actually richened it up and turned it down before he left because it needs to be able to breathe a little bit better and have better fuel in it for that type of stuff. And the last run that we made on the car, it actually pushed the dipstick out of the block from hitting the rev limiter, because it doesn't really have barely anything of a catch can on it. So he's going to upgrade to a 4-pore catch can, and just some other little stuff, maybe go E85. But this amount of power in that little car should really fly. I went 10 seconds in the quarter with 450 wheel, so I don't see why this car shouldn't be able to do the same. So anyways, thanks for watching the video, guys. I really hope you enjoyed it. I know there probably wasn't a ton of info in here, but maybe I'll add some stuff later with this car. But it ended up working out pretty good. So leave a like, subscribe if you guys are new, and have a good night, or great night, and a better tomorrow.